It was a symptom of what was going on in my marriage. I was crying out for help, but giving the wrong signals. I'd come home feeling pretty empty.
The drama surrounding Queen Camilla and the late Princess Diana was so intense that it is still talked about till this very day. For years, Camilla bore the label of husband snatcher due to her involvement with Charles during his marriage to Diana. But now, decades after Diana's tragic passing, Queen Camilla is finally speaking up, and what she revealed might change the narrative. What did Queen Camilla reveal? Join us as we get into the details. A truth that finally changes everything. The highly publicized triangle between Princess Diana, King Charles, and Queen Camilla is, to this day, one of the most heartbreaking love stories the royal family has ever known. Diana walked into her fairy tale wedding with dreams of forever. She thought she had found her Prince Charming, but behind the palace doors, reality couldn't have been more cruel. What she didn't know was that she was stepping into a love story that had already begun, and she wasn't the leading lady. While the press devoured every scandalous twist and turn of Charles and Camilla's affair, painting Diana as the betrayed wife, there was one moment, one private meeting between Diana and Camilla that never quite made the headlines. For decades, it was buried in silence, until now. Camilla is finally breaking her silence and revealing the heartfelt conversation she and Diana had behind closed doors. And what she says might change how you see their story forever. Keep watching, as you won't want to miss this. Now, before we dive into what Camilla said, it's important to know it wasn't always kindness and compassion between the two women. In fact, long before this emotional revelation, Camilla had allegedly said some of the coldest, most despicable things about Diana. While Camilla always kept quiet in public, behind the scenes, it was another ballgame entirely. A royal expert claims Camilla had no problem throwing subtle and not-so-subtle jabs at the princess. If you're a royal fan, you already know how chaotic and legendary this love triangle was. Charles and Camilla met way back in 1970 at a polo match, and their connection was almost instant. But instead of ending up together, fate and a bit of royal pressure had other plans. Charles married Diana in 1981 in what looked like a fairy tale, but it quickly turned toxic. Whispers of infidelity filled the palace halls, and while the world saw Charles and Camilla as just old friends, a scandalous phone call recorded in 1989 and leaked in 1993 blew the lid off everything. It revealed that the affair wasn't just a rumor, it was real, raw, and ongoing. Needless to say, Diana and Camilla were never on friendly terms. Behind the smiles and royal waves, they allegedly called each other the nastiest names. But the meeting Camilla is now talking about? It reveals a side of Diana and their rivalry the world has never seen. Tom Bower, a well-known British author, television writer, and journalist specializing in royal family history, dropped a bombshell piece about the things Camilla allegedly said behind closed doors during her infamous affair with Charles. Reporting for the Daily Mail, Tom revealed that Camilla's circle of friends were never in any doubt about her true feelings toward the late Princess Diana.
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
And what they heard wasn't pretty. In the early days of Charles and Diana's marriage, Camilla reportedly dismissed the young princess with a sneer, referring to her as a mouse, likely mocking Diana's soft-spoken and reserved nature. But as the royal drama escalated, so did Camilla's cruelty. According to Bower, she eventually began calling Diana that mad cow, a nickname as harsh as it is shocking. And it gets worse. Tom alleged that in her private country home, Ray Mill in Wiltshire, Camilla had really unflattering cartoons of Diana hanging in the guest bathroom. A petty, almost mocking move that paints a much darker picture of their rivalry. Bower didn't hold back, stating that Diana's rage was evenly matched by Camilla's bitterness, suggesting the feud and name-calling wasn't one-sided. Diana, well known for her outspoken nature and fiery spirit, also had a cutting nickname for her husband's mistress, and this name is really unflattering. According to royal expert and biographer Christopher Anderson, Diana called Camilla the Rottweiler, a biting jab that meant once Camilla sunk her teeth into someone, she never let go. And in this case, Charles was the person Camilla had sunk her teeth into. In return, Camilla allegedly dubbed Diana Barbie, a reference meant to belittle her as superficial. The bitterness between the two women, as we've seen over time, ran deep and personal. And when Charles finally married Camilla in 2005, 8 years after Diana's tragic passing, the public backlash was so intense that people were calling Camilla names. Even till this very day, Queen Camilla continues to face harsh judgment from those who still remember the war of words and wounds from one of the most tragic royal love triangles in history. Camilla and Anne's bitter history. It seems like Queen Camilla has a bit of a track record when it comes to getting involved with men who are already spoken for, and not just with King Charles. Long before she became queen consort, she reportedly made waves by stepping into another royal's romantic territory. Yes, we're talking about Princess Anne, Queen Elizabeth's only daughter. The royal family lives under constant scrutiny, carefully curating their public images while drama brews beneath the surface. And few royal relationships are as complex or as juicy as the one between Princess Anne and Camilla. While most people associate Camilla with her scandalous affair with Charles, not many know that her royal entanglements stretch even further back. Shocking, right? In fact, Camilla's connection to Anne started before her infamous romance with the future king. So how did Camilla and Anne cross paths in the first place? Well, Camilla wasn't just some outsider crashing the royal circle. As a London debutante in the 1960s, she was practically bred for high society. Rubbing shoulders with Britain's elite at polo matches and lavish events, she was no stranger to the Windsor world. It was at one of those polo matches in 1970 that she met Charles and the real drama began. Charles and Camilla were introduced by Lucia Santa Cruz, a mutual friend. But here's a twist. The introduction was done by one of Charles's first love interests in Cambridge. At the time of Charles and Camilla's first meeting, Anne was romantically involved with a dashing army officer named Andrew Parker Bowles. And guess who else had her eyes on him? You guessed it, Camilla. According to royal author Penny Junor, it was Anne's relationship with Andrew that led to Camilla and Charles being introduced. And from there, a little fling between the future king and Camilla kicked off while Anne was still very much involved with Andrew. Messy doesn't even begin to cover it. But let's talk about that first meeting. As reported by Town & Country, when Camilla met Charles at that now famous polo match, she wasted no time with the charm or the cheek. She reportedly told him, "My great-grandmother was the mistress of your great-great-grandfather. I feel we have something in common." Bold doesn't even scratch the surface. Soon after their encounter, Charles left for Royal Navy service, and when he returned, Camilla was engaged to none other than Andrew Parker Bowles, the same man Princess Anne had been romantically tied to. Just imagine the tension at family gatherings. Not only had Charles lost his shot with Camilla, but Anne had seemingly lost Andrew too. So how exactly did Camilla and Andrew end up together? Though Anne and Andrew were going strong, they soon faced a roadblock due to religion. Andrew was Catholic, and royal rules at the time made it clear that a Church of England royal, like Anne, couldn't marry someone of a different faith. So while their spark didn't fade right away, things didn't end with a royal wedding. Instead, Andrew shifted his attention, and eventually his proposal, to none other than Camilla. Their wedding at the Guards Chapel was a lavish affair, and yes, Princess Anne was in the audience. Talk about awkwardness. The Queen Mother, Princess Margaret, and other high-ranking royals showed up too. But you've got to wonder what was going through Anne's mind as she watched the man she once loved marry someone who'd later marry her own brother. The timing was eyebrow-raising, to say the least, and the whispers of jealousy very real. Given all that history, it's no surprise that things between Anne and Camilla never quite thawed, and Camilla felt it. Royal author Penny Junor noted that for years after marrying Charles,
I might postpone my nervous breakdown to a more appropriate moment.
Camilla felt intimidated by Anne's frosty demeanor. As the news put it, Anne's chilly conduct was extremely nerve-wracking for Camilla, especially since all that old drama had never been fully put to bed. So when you see Queen Camilla and Princess Anne standing side by side at royal engagements, just know that the air might look calm, But there are decades of tension bubbling right beneath the surface. When Queen Camilla and King Charles III tied the knot in 2005, you'd think the royal family would have rallied around the newlyweds. But that wasn't exactly the case. In fact, Princess Anne's reaction was the royal equivalent of a deep freeze, and she wasn't the only one giving Camilla the cold shoulder. Even Queen Elizabeth II herself skipped the ceremony, sending a pretty loud message without saying a word. According to body language expert Judy James, the vibes were anything but celebratory. At the poses after their wedding, the Queen and Philip stood back and away from the couple on the steps, she told Express, adding that this deliberate distance made it impossible to get a cozy, happy family photo. And Anne? She looked just as frosty, barely even acknowledging the newlyweds. But here's the kicker. This wasn't the first time Anne played it cold. Anne is widely known for her no-nonsense approach, and she wasn't here for Diana's darling moment either. As reported by E! News, she had a similarly icy attitude toward Princess Diana, famously saying she had no time for her sister-in-law. Anne wasn't a fan of Diana's popularity or her media circus, and her no-nonsense traditional view of monarchy probably clashed with Diana's more modern, emotional approach. So when Camilla stepped into Diana's shoes, let's just say Anne wasn't rolling out the red carpet. Of course, the real tension between Anne and Camilla may run deeper than royal protocol. Turns out, they once had something, or rather someone very important in common: Andrew Parker Bowles. Yep, the same Andrew who would go on to marry Camilla in 1973. But before that, he and Anne were an item. Nothing complicates matters quite like a royal love triangle, or in this case, a royal web of exes, revenge, and generational drama. According to royal biographer Penny Junor, Princess Anne may have taken her sweet time warming up to Camilla. And the reason? Let's just say there's a certain man-shaped elephant in the room. The affair between Andrew and Anne came to nothing, but they were hugely fond of each other, and they remain hugely fond of each other. And Camilla has always had a bit of a problem with that, Junor revealed. Anne's famously blunt, no-nonsense demeanor didn't make things any easier, and with the deep personal history between the women, Camilla, known for being much more reserved in royal settings, was reportedly intimidated by Anne for years.
It is the monarch that is the key to this, that underpins the monarchy.
But here's where it gets messier. The love triangle may have actually started as a game of emotional chess. While many believe Camilla and Charles were fated lovers, Junor paints a different picture. She claims Camilla only set her sights on the future king out of spite. That's right, Camilla allegedly got with Charles because of Princess Anne. According to the news, Camilla and Andrew Parker Bowles, Anne's former flame, were still very much involved when she found out he was romantically entangled with Anne and other women. Fueled by betrayal, Camilla reportedly retaliated in dramatic fashion, slashing Andrew's tires, scrawling a lipstick message across his car, and then making her move on Charles, Anne's brother. Despite all the tangled emotions, one thing has remained constant. Anne and Andrew still share a close bond. As Harper's Bazaar noted, he's even the godfather of Anne's daughter, Zara Phillips. And just to make things even more delightfully complicated, King Charles is the godfather of Tom Parker Bowles, Camilla and Andrew's son. Talk about some family drama. So what makes Andrew Parker Bowles such a lingering presence in both women's lives? It may come down to deep roots. His father was a close friend of the Queen Mother, and Andrew grew up firmly embedded in the royal circle. He was even a page boy at Queen Elizabeth's 1953 coronation. With connections like that, it's no wonder he remains entangled in this regal drama. At the end of the day, the tension between Camilla and Anne isn't just about royal protocol or clashing personalities. It's about exes, unhealed wounds, and decades of unresolved history. And in true royal fashion, it's all hidden behind perfect smiles and icy glances. By all means, the relationship between Camilla and Anne has yet another layer of complication to it. Back in 2021, a royal insider told New Idea, Anne has always found Camilla opportunistic, and with her and Prince Charles's roles being widened in 2021, she's really throwing her weight around. The insider added that Anne had grown increasingly frustrated with the dynamic, especially since she rarely gets any alone time with her brother to share her thoughts, something that clearly still matters to her. Meanwhile, Camilla was reportedly hoping Anne would just let go of the decades-old grudges, but the princess wasn't exactly ready to move on. Still, in the face of royal duty and the pressures of upholding the crown, there may be a silent truce at play. According to body language expert Judy James, the frosty past may have melted slightly in recent years. She noted that both women, despite their differences, seem to have found a way to coexist, possibly even align as they step up to support and maintain the ever-evolving monarchy. Because when you strip away the royal titles, extravagant estates, and paparazzi flashes, what's left are two women bound by tradition, tangled history, and a crown that always demands composure. Queen Camilla's role as queen consort. Romantic relationships have definitely played a big role in the tension between Princess Anne and Queen Camilla, but funny enough, Anne actually made things easier for Camilla and Charles when it came to making their relationship official. Anne was the first royal to divorce her husband and marry the man she had an affair with. That alone is a big deal in a family like theirs. While married to Mark Phillips, Anne had an affair with Timothy Lawrence. She later divorced Mark in 1992 and married Timothy not long after. That move broke royal tradition, and, whether she meant to or not, she set an example that helped make it easier for Camilla down the line. Camilla was known as Charles' mistress for years while he was married to Diana. After his divorce from Diana and her tragic passing, he married Camilla in 2005. Without Anne's earlier move, there might not have been any real precedent for Camilla to follow. So even with all the drama between them, Anne helped her in a way, paving the way for Camilla to be slightly accepted in the public's eye. When Charles became king, Camilla was crowned queen beside him. Even though it sounded more official than queen consort, in reality, it didn't change much. Camilla still didn't hold any real power, but the change in title showed how far she's come, from being hated as the other woman to being mostly accepted by the public. For years, no one was even sure what title Camilla would get. Her being the second wife made things complicated. But Queen Elizabeth II settled that when she gave her blessing for Camilla to be called queen consort. That moment was the royal family's way of saying, yes, she belongs here now. So yeah, Anne and Camilla haven't always had the best relationship, but in a way, they've shaped each other's stories. Anne broke tradition first. Camilla followed, just in a different, messier way. And for the first time since Camilla and Charles married, Buckingham Palace's official coronation invitations referred to Camilla as Queen Camilla. The media reported that palace officials felt it was the right time to introduce this title, given the months that had passed since Queen Elizabeth's death. The last British queen consort to hold a similar position was Queen Elizabeth, the wife of George VI, who was known as the Queen, and later became the Queen Mother. Now, with Camilla officially taking on the title, her role is clear. She'll accompany King Charles to official events and be addressed as Her Royal Highness.
May thy servant Camilla, who wears this crown, be filled by thine abundant grace.
Camilla also serves as one of the 5 counselors of state, alongside Prince William, Prince Harry, Prince Andrew, and Princess Beatrice. This role allows her to temporarily take on some of Charles's duties when he's unavailable, such as attending Privy Council meetings, signing routine documents, and welcoming new ambassadors to the UK. Over the years, Camilla has focused a lot of her efforts on philanthropy, championing causes like raising awareness about osteoporosis and domestic violence. She's been praised for her down-to-earth approach, which contrasts sharply with some of the more flashy royal personas. However, some experts worry that Camilla's low-key demeanor might make it harder for her to connect with the public. Diana, for instance, was known for being emotional, very open, and relatable, even wearing fashionable clothes to create a personal connection with the people. Diana embraced the public, while Camilla often prefers to stay more private and behind the scenes. At the end of the day, how the British public accepts Camilla in her new role as queen consort will depend largely on how they connect with her. It's a delicate balance, but time will tell. Do you think Queen Camilla will settle well into her role as Queen Consort? Also, what do you think about Princess Anne and Queen Camilla's relationship over the years? Do you think they'll be able to maintain their newfound friendship, or do you think otherwise? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. If you enjoyed this story, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.